folks, we are joined by Joel Dubin, who is a retired cybersecurity consultant and has done security assessments around the world. And he speaks 7 languages and has an international perspective on business. And after his decades long experience working with messed up companies, he has developed his 7 point framework of common issues at these companies, and we are going to discuss about the topic, the 7 habits of highly dysfunctional companies. And before we get into the topic, here is an exciting twist as always. Let us tickle our guest's brain. So Joel, get ready for a rapid fire round of random words. I'll mention a few and I would love to hear the first thing that comes to your mind in response without thinking much. If you're ready, let's dive right in. Okay, perfect. So here comes the first word: curiosity.
Not at the dysfunctional company. There isn't any there.
Invention.
Stupidity. That's what the dysfunctional company is best at creating.
Future.
Looks bleak. If you're at a dysfunctional company, you're not going anywhere.
Book.
The book, I would say, Franz Kafka's The Trial is what's the operations manual for many companies.
Okay. And then movie.
Movie The Godfather. It's all about power and ego and nepotism.
Okay. And here comes the next one: aliens.
Aliens. Mars, man. I think some of the people at these companies come from outer space.
Universe.
It's very, very small and narrow at the dysfunctional company. Tunnel vision.
Leadership.
Non-existent. It's not there. No guidance. They're lost.
Okay, next is role model.
Role model. Gosh, boy, that's a tough one. Probably, well, Jack Welch is a good role model, but that's a positive thing, how he runs companies. But that would not be a dysfunctional company.
I'm a big fan of Jack Welch because I worked for GE for quite a long time. Like,
he worked for GE.
Yeah. And
he's very famous. He kind of is the guru of a lot of management.
Right. Yeah. And here comes the last one for the rapid fire round of random words: success.
Success is leaving the dysfunctional company alive and intact and with your sanity.
This is the funniest rapid fire round, and you related everything to the topic at hand, so which is so interesting. Yes. And Joel, before I welcome you formally to the show, let me welcome the audience. So, folks, you have tuned into the Guiding Voice podcast series, the Guiding Voice for a Better Future, and we embark on transformative conversations for a better future. I'm your host, Naveen Samala, dedicated to making the world a better place through valuable discussions that add value not only to your life, but also to your career. And thank you so much for tuning in. And Joel, hearty welcome to TGV. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Naveen, for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
Pleasure to have you. And Joel, let's get the ball rolling. We'll begin with your success mantra. So please share with us the top 3 things that have contributed to your success so far.
Well, I think being flexible is one thing. So I've always been able to adapt, because change is probably the biggest thing that goes on at any company, whether it's dysfunctional or not. You just got to be prepared for change, good or bad. Being persistent. I've always been very good at sticking to things, not giving up, and then just kind of seeing it through, so that's a big thing. And then for me personally, being international, speaking a lot of languages, being able to be that go-to guy. I was always the guy that could only speak Spanish, right?
Yeah.
The guy that could only speak Portuguese, or let's send Joel to the Middle East because he speaks Hebrew and Arabic, right? And I was always that guy, that one guy that could do that. And as you could tell, I know a few words of Hindi that I learned from my many Indian coworkers and having done work with people in India. So never been there, but that was a bureaucratic snafu, due to bureaucratic infighting, which I talk a lot about in my book. I never went to India, but I should have.
and I welcome you to India. So you please visit Hyderabad, the place where I stay most of the time. So it is a great place to be here.
It's a major tech center, and the people that I did business with were mostly in Hyderabad. So, and that's how I learned to say Bogunara, good morning.
It is the second Silicon Valley of India. First one is
Yeah.
Bengaluru and Hyderabad is the second one. All right. So thank you for sharing your success mantra. And now let's flip the coin and talk about the toughest lessons that you have learned in your corporate journey.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I mean, it's important to be friendly and get along with your coworkers, but your coworkers aren't your friends. I wish I had read Machiavelli while I was working because I only recently read it. Not everybody is nice at these companies, and not everybody is on your side. So you always have to watch your back. I mean, even the friendliest people are not always your friends, really, and you have to just be careful. There's all kinds of backstabbers and dangerous people there. I don't want you to get the impression that every work environment is hostile, but you need to be careful. These are bureaucracies, and there's a lot of power issues. So your coworkers, yeah, they're not your friends. Be careful. Not everyone is nice, and just watch your back. So those are probably my two top lessons.
Got it. And that's an interesting perspective. And Joel, in your experience, what are some telltale signs of a dysfunctional company? And can you share any memorable anecdotes or examples that illustrate these signs?
Yes, I can. So I think the big thing is if you see people with big egos, narcissistic type personalities, people that are kind of power hungry type people, those are the big telltale signs. Now, there are times when a manager has to make difficult decisions, of course, and may not always be popular, but I'm talking about people that are really in it for themselves and they don't really care about their team. And you can see that they're climbers. I call them in the book skywatchers. They manage up because they're always kissing ass above them, but they're not taking care of their employees. In fact, they're ignoring their employees. They're not really listening to them, or they're taking credit for their work, right? And never really saying, so and so did a good job. They helped me. I did this, is what the manager said, and they're always kind of belittling their employees. So those are probably the biggest telltale signs. A toxic work environment with personalities that are kind of combative, ego driven, and power hungry.
Got it. I think that is so straightforward. And
Yeah.
you have coined this term ADR, the
Yes.
A star.
Asshole density ratio. Yes. So it's purely humorous. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Not to be taken seriously. Not to, but the idea is that what I do is I say that you should walk 100 steps in all directions from your cubicle, and then you count the number of assholes within the given space. Divide that by the total number of people in the space. Then you also have to have what I call an ESF, an executive supplemental factor, because you have to include executives in there because that, so you get a right mix of people and a right balance. And then that will tell you, what I call the asshole density ratio. So anything over 75% is definitely a red flag, and a bad sign. Now, the question you might ask, Naveen, is for remote employees, they can't go 100 steps. They might end up on the balcony, or they might fall out the window if they go 100 steps. So what I say for there, remote employees have all their fellow coworkers with little icons on their desktop, so they can count the number of icons and then count the number of assholes within there. Now, the whole idea of the ADR, I call it an ADR, is acronym use is very, very popular at dysfunctional companies because it makes communication confusing and unclear. That's a big thing. You've got to make sure that people don't know what the hell you're talking about. You have to keep confused, keep communication confused. So I throw in a lot of acronyms, starting with the ADR. So there you go.
Good one. Okay, comes the next one. Bureaucracy and tough battles are common themes in these dysfunctional organizations, right? So, can you discuss some strategies or organizational structures that exacerbate these issues and how they hinder productivity and innovation?
Okay, so the more layers of the cake, the more layers of the bureaucracy, the more likely the cake is to fall over. Now, you have to understand, Naveen, that some level of bureaucracy is unavoidable. You have to have organization with any company, with any group of people. You can't have people doing everything they want. You can't have chaos, right? So you have to have some level of organization. The question is, how many layers of bureaucracy are there? And if it's just so much that you just have so many approvals just to, if you have to just to get I call it sticky notes. Sticky notes are the glue of the dysfunctional company, right? So if you need to go through all these layers to get approved for your sticky notes, or I had an experience where I wanted to add just a column to a spreadsheet, and the person in the office said, we have to hold a meeting for this," and it went up the chain until one executive started swearing, "Just add the effing column to the spreadsheet," right? In addition to bureaucracy, the big thing is I call them silos. So those are vertical organizations where they don't really talk to each other. So there's duplication of effort, right? So one group is doing a project in one silo, but they don't know what the other silo is doing, and they may both be doing the same project, but because they can't talk to each other, that is what causes these turf battles and causes a lot of this dysfunction. So I call it silos on top of bureaucracy. Silos on top of bureaucracy.
Silos on top of bureaucracy. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And also, Joel, your book humorously addresses this poor customer service and the use of technology to distance customers from human interaction. So how do these practices contribute to a company's dysfunction, and what impact do they have on customer loyalty as well as satisfaction?
Okay, so I think what's happened is that automation has become kind of run amok.
Yeah.
Used to be you called customer service and you actually talked to a human being, right? Nowadays, to get to a human being, you have to go through layers of menu, right? And the menu doesn't say exactly what you want. So you just start pressing keys on the on the phone until you get something, and then you might be yelling at the phone, some obscenity or something because you can't get through. But whatever the menu is, it's not what you're looking for, right? So you just descend deeper and deeper into what I call, menu hell there, right? And sometimes, in a very rare circumstance, you have when you get the right combination of menu numbers, you get menu bingo. But dysfunctional company has to make sure that doesn't happen. You've got to make sure that people are isolated. They never get the chance to talk to a human being. And when they do, the human being should definitely say, "This is not my job. Let me move you over to another department." And then it just kind of goes like a game of musical chairs. But I think the root cause of this, Naveen, is that, and I understand the reason large companies do this. They may, even a good company on a normal day, they're being inundated with a lot of calls, understood. You have to filter it, right? But what's happened is you have this automation, and it's gotten more and more and more automated, right?
Yeah.
And so it's gotten to a point where there's no human contact at all. I mean, sometimes you'll never get to a person at all. You might be able to, have an inquiry about a bill, but you have a question about one item on there, but the menu won't let you through. That kind of a thing. I mean, I had a situation, for example, where, I had to check on a car title, right? And I had a call. The only number was for a loan, and they asked for a loan number. Well, the car had already been paid off. I had no loan number. I had no way to get through. So I had to research on Google to get another customer service number to find who I could talk to get this problem resolved. And it's just this. I've heard so many stories of people just frustrated, throwing the phone up in the air, yelling, or just banging their head up against the wall. The true issue is automation. And I think with AI, you're going to have more of these bots that they look like a real person, and they sound like a real person, but it's not a person at all, right? And it may not send you to the right office or the right area that you need to solve your problem. So automation is key. Yeah, I understand large companies have to do something. They have a large volume of calls, but there's a point where you've got to be able to get to someone,
Yeah, got it. And a while ago, you mentioned about remote employees. So my next question is on the remote employees. With the rise of this remote work, how have these dysfunctional companies adapted or failed to adapt to managing remote employees? And can you share any humorous anecdotes or challenges?
Yes, many, 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 many. So I think, obviously, as we all went through all over the world, right? And you felt this as well in India, COVID affected everything. So everybody started working from home. So a lot of funny anecdotes. I have stories of, like barking dogs and yelling kids in the background. And, I kind of say that sometimes the kids and the dogs have more to say than the people that are actually in the meeting, And then in one case, I had a woman who was I was interviewing for a security review. And in the report, we have to put the names of everybody that we interview. And her cat would walk back and forth across the screen, and she'd pet the cat as the cat would go through. And I said, "What's the name of the cat? I'm going to put the cat's name in the report." Let's say it's the team mascot. And then there's another time there was a woman, she was on the call and her husband didn't realize he could be seen in the back and he's taking off his shirt and changing his clothes. You know, I'm sending her a message, is that your husband back there? We can see him changing his clothes. you know. But I do think seriously, remote work has kind of become like a hot button now. It's kind of like a can of worms, and companies are kind of debating it. On the one hand, Naveen, I found that many of the clients that I work with, they got spoiled by remote work. They didn't have to pay for the travel, right? Think of what they have to pay. They have to put you up in a hotel, that you have to pay for meals, they have to, set up a conference room, and they have to take care of you, right?
Yeah.
Whereas remote, it's cheap. They don't have to do any of that. They're just on the call during the assessment, right? So
Yeah.
I don't think it's a black and white, all remote or all in the office. I think the companies have to do kind of like a hybrid thing. Not only does it depend on the employee, some people don't work well at home. There's a lot of distractions. Some people work great at home, and in the office, there's distraction. Once I got working remote, I found that I enjoyed it more because I didn't have people coming up to my cubicle wanting to chit chat. I didn't have as many distractions. So that's and then certain industries, certain, like I've heard that investment banking, it's very important to be in front of the parties to the deal so you
Yeah.
can read their body language, and you can't really get that, in a remote call. So it depends on the industry, it depends on the individual. There shouldn't be dysfunctional companies, they make it black and white. You must come into the office, right? You can't work remote, that's nonsense. And we also, all of us have, you have a day where
Right.
there's a sick kid or you got to take care of someone or something like that where you're going to have to work remote. So, yeah, kind of a high. That's my answer on that
Agreed.
issue.
Agreed. And I could relate to examples that you have shared as well. And Joel, this has been incredible conversation so far, but it's time for us to add some more excitement and some more spice. Are you ready for the second rapid fire round?
Yes, I am.
Okay, here comes the first bullet. If you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
I would say be open to change and be ready to leave your company at any time. The corporate angel of death could strike any time at any level, and you could be laid off at any time. Be prepared. So I would say be loyal to your career and be prepared to make a move at any moment. That's what I would put on be
So,
prepared.
yeah, love your job, but not the company, if I may summarize.
Yes, Naveen, that's the way. Yes, perfect. Right. But don't
Okay.
don't be bad at your company. Just be
Yeah,
prepared that they may not love you as much as you love them.
right, right. And Joel, you mentioned about a couple of incidents that have happened in a video call. What is the weirdest thing that has happened other than those
Well,
two you mentioned?
so yeah, the weirdest thing is, I had some barking dogs in the back that, anytime you had an important point, the dogs seemed to talk first. So I said to the person, your dog has got a good idea. We're going to put that in the proposal.
And you should have a translator
Yeah, 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 right. In
Good
multiple
one.
languages.
Good one. And can you describe yourself in just one word?
I would say offbeat, different.
Offbeat. Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I'm the guy, the smart aleck that always says the crazy thing in a call or a meeting.
Good one. I love your energy. And complete this phrase 3 times. Never have I ever.
Never have I ever seen a totally functional company, right? Never have I ever seen someone who thinks they know it all actually know it all,
Mhm.
right? And never have I seen a company that does well in a merger. In
Mm.
other words, whenever I find there's an acquisition,
Yeah.
it's thought about at the strategic level, this would be a good idea on this, but nobody thinks at the day-to-day level, logistics might not match, marketing
Yeah.
might not match, corporate cultures might not match.
Yeah.
So never have I seen a corporate culture that will mesh with another corporate culture.
Yeah. And there will be a lot of waste that happens, okay, during this particular merger, and people don't tend to streamline the process, right? So this actually resonates with the kind of work I do in terms of streamlining the processes at the companies as part of my day job. All right, so let's move forward. And can you share two truths and one lie about you?
Two truths. Well, as I say, I'm definitely persistent. I'm definitely flexible. But the one lie is that, oh, he's not serious. He's not going to take the job seriously because, I bring my sense of humor to the office. That's definitely not true. When called upon to do what I have to do, I do it.
Yeah,
So
indeed.
definitely yeah.
Good. And it comes the last bullet. What is one electronic gadget that you'd like to see or invent yourself?
Well, I'd like to see an AI device that does translation of languages. There's a lot of
Mm,
devices out there, but when you look at them, they're basically just Android devices that connect to Google Translate. They're not magical. And in
yeah.
my quest for learning languages and looking for different ways to translate, I have a drawer full of these devices that I buy, and there's a new one out every couple months, and they're popular. And then I go, oh my gosh, when I get it, I unpack it. It's all the same. You need an internet connection. It has Google Translate, a true AI device that doesn't have to be, connected to Google Translate that does a true translation. I think this new device that's out now, this Rabbit R1, is
Yeah.
close, and I'm waiting for mine to come in the mail. And I'm going to play with it. Is a true AI device, but that's the device I would like to see.
Good one, Joel. And I thoroughly enjoyed the second rapid fire round. And let's flip back to the mainstream. What will be your one piece of advice to those aspiring to make big in their careers?
Okay, I would say network, network, and network. So always improve your skill.
Hmm.
So network both internally within your company,
Yeah.
because you should get to know as many people in different departments, because in many dysfunctional companies, silos don't communicate, layers of the bureaucracy don't communicate. You may have to do it yourself. Network outside your company. Always be aware of your industry. For example, I was in cybersecurity. I always went to conferences. I took classes. I improved my skills. I met people. I learned, what was going on, and I learned. I met a lot of different people, and I learned a lot of new skills. And then always, have your resume ready and be prepared to pull the ripcord on your parachute, when necessary. So be flexible. But one piece of advice, Naveen, that I need to really pass along: a lot of people, that are miserable in their jobs, they think, well, the answer is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody.
Right.
So you have to think ahead, right? You may be that person that just, you can't, you need that income stream. You can't take that time off while the business is building. You may not have the personality for it. You may really always have to work for somebody else. That's not a crime. And that's not the point of my book. I'm not blaming employees that are stuck in jobs. And if that's your reality, you need to adjust to that and be able to look at different companies and different cultures, so that you can be flexible and move on if necessary. There are companies that are progressive, that are fun places to work, they're doing great things. And then, something happens, the sales don't meet expectations, and then the company turns in on itself. I've been at companies that have been exciting companies, and then they become like the Titanic. They start sinking, and I've watched a sinking ship, so things can change, but there are good places to work and good people to work with and good industries and so on. So entrepreneurship is not always the answer. I think they peddle that too much these days in a lot of business classes. Not for
Yeah.
everybody, but if that's your thing, if you've got an idea and you think you can get it funded, go for it. Not telling you not to. I'm just saying it's not for everybody.
It's made glamorous actually. Entrepreneurship is made glamorous, and people
It
are
is.
looking at that as a shiny object syndrome, is what we call it, right?
Perfect. I like that. I like that. I like that comparison as a shiny object.
Amazing. And Joel, I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, and it's really fun talking to you. And I look forward to hosting you again on the show. And how is your experience being hosted on The Guiding Voice?
Oh, this is great, man. This is a lot of fun. You asked great questions and we got right to the heart of the matter.
Thank you so much for the feedback, and thank you for being part of our journey in shaping the careers and lives of millions across the globe. And I wish you all the best in everything that you.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward to meeting you again.
Great. Thank you.
All right. So, friends, that was our episode with Joel Dubin. And before we jump into the fun trivia section, we have a quick request. In case if you haven't already subscribed to TGV, the Guiding Voice podcast, please subscribe to our podcast from wherever you have tuned in, because subscribing keeps you updated on new episodes. And also, if you have enjoyed the conversation, please consider sharing with at least three of your friends or colleagues who would also like TGV, the Guiding Voice. So spread the knowledge and help others grow just like you. All right, now let's hop into the trivia segment. We've had amazing conversation about the 7 habits of highly dysfunctional companies. Right? So, what is dysfunctional? I thought I would talk to you about the history of the term dysfunctional. The term dysfunctional originated from the prefix dys, which means bad or abnormal, and functional refers to something that operates or works properly. So it gained popularity in psychology and sociology to describe individuals, families, or systems that exhibit maladaptive behavior or fail to meet the demands of everyday life effectively. And in the context of organizational behavior and management, the term dysfunctional refers to structures, processes, or cultures within a company that hinder its ability to achieve its goals or operate efficiently. And this can include ineffective communication, poor leadership, conflicting goals, and toxic work environment as well. And overall, the term has evolved to encompass a wide range of issues within the organization, highlighting the importance of identifying and addressing underlying problems to foster healthier and more productive work environments. So, that is all from my side, and I would love to hear from you. I would love to get to know your feedback on this episode. What did you like most about our conversation with Joel Dubin? And I look forward to read your comments.
Naveen, you're hired for my dysfunctional company. Most people in a dysfunctional company don't even know what dysfunctional means.
Amazing. So, thank you so much for joining us today, guys. And that's it for today. So, thank you so much for tuning in and also for being part of our awesome TGV family. And we would love to hear from you. Do not hesitate to share your ideas, feedback, either through our social media platforms or also you can email us at theguidingvoiceforyou@gmail.com. And let's create content that resonates with you. I'm your host, Naveen Samala, a lifelong learner, and my goal is to have impactful conversations that improve not only your life but also your career. And until next time, take care, stay inspired, and remember the future holds great things because the best is yet to come. Goodbye for now. See you in the next episode with another amazing guest.